Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk for a minute about consider the source. Guess who the source of your life is? It's you, Champer Damper. It's you. If you haven't seen that cat massage video on YouTube, highly recommended. Also, you can go to YouTube, search for Rare Bird Medicine, and you can subscribe there. I'm considering making a series of videos that will only be placed on my YouTube channel around doing tarot for the month or looking at astrology for the month. So that is in a state of its own evolution, but join in. So I want to say today, you are the source of your life. And if you've had a lot of trauma, pain, and suffering, your ego might be like, no, Heather, I'm not the one that, I'll speak for myself. I'm not the one that caused 50 humans that I love to die. Lovers, best friends, parents, grandparents, coworkers, blah, blah, blah. I'm not the one that caused that. I'm not the one that caused a man to be a pedophile and attack me when I was a child. I'm not the one that caused a man to rape me and lose my virginity through the act of rape. I'm not the large group of men that have assaulted me throughout my life. And I'll be clear now, and I'll be clear throughout my life. When we talk about Me Too, many men are also assaulted. So let's not get into sexual assault being a genitalia-based thing. Doesn't matter what your genitals are doing. You're around somebody that provides poison sexually, you can have an assault experience. And I've heard tell of many stories from men that have faced sexual crimes as well. But so I'm not special as a woman with that experience. I will say very challenging, and easy for me to say, like, I didn't do that. Now, I didn't commit the act. I mean, and if we really want to get comprehensively broad on the understanding of it, I am the one that committed the act, because there's only one thing here. It's called an undulating blob of life, is how I'll describe it, because it makes me laugh. We can call it an undulating blob of energy. That is actually, since I was a child, how I've described God. God is an undulating blob of energy. God is made of energy, love, and light. The end, period. But life is. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Everything's made of energy. So God, if you want, energy, if you're scientific, life, if you prefer, is one undulating blob. And anything that any of the blob is doing, the web is connected. Trust. The web is connected. So, I always say we all get to go home, but we get to go there in our own time. So I may not have been the person that committed all these acts that caused me to get into a car accident that caused severe whiplash, or I've caused some of the car accidents, let's be clear, but I didn't cause all of them. And so, it's easy for the ego to be like, yeah, I'm not the source, that's not mine. I was a victim of a crime. At this point in my life, I not only take 100% responsibility for everything I've experienced as my teacher to aid me to remove my blocks to the awareness of love's presence, I also take responsibility for all of life, for I see it to be eternally unified. And so I would say, Heather Feather, before she took up this particular flesh costume and said, yeah, I'll take that one. Sure, let's try that vessel. I see it that I love to talk about fate and free will, because people love to disconnect the two. Like, you either have fate and destiny, or you have free will. You can't have both. And it's like, well, but maybe we don't understand what fate and destiny are. Because the fundamental assumption that is made is that if you had a fate or destiny, it was given to you by God. And I would not state that. My experience of God, which is also referred to as Allah, Brahma, spirit, source. People use cosmos. I don't know. People use a lot of different words for that. My experience is that whatever that intelligence is, it has given us free will. How do you know? Ever heard of a serial killer? Ever heard of a rapist? Ever heard of a saint? I mean, clearly each being here has free will and the choices they're making of how they can show up. We have a dualistic polarized realm, good, bad, right, wrong, up, down. And when you have polarity, you have choice. And if you want freedom, you got to have choice. It's not free for you to say you have free will, but if you don't obey my will of being good, then you're going to go to hell forever, but you've got to find this book and hopefully someone will tell you about it. I mean, that's not choice, actually, because some of us aren't raised in the Bible Belt. So freedom would be actually giving me choice and not giving me judgment and punishment as a result of my choices. If I truly have the freedom to make a choice and to grow and evolve, then I would simply experience the results of having chosen to pluck that fruit. If I choose to pluck a sour fruit, one cannot expect anything but a bitter-looking face. May I choose the sweet ones. So I would say that for me as an entity, I chose, before I took up this flesh costume, to experience assault, to experience death, to experience car accidents, to experience a whole lot of fantastically strange shadow teachers. Lots of different experiences from shadow and false evidence appearing real and fear-based. I think I probably had a lot of arrogance as a spirit, and I was like, I'm going to go down there. I took the shaman packet, which I think comes with just give me all the trauma and tragedy. I want to have empathy for the entire world. I want to become a medicine. I want to be truly compassionate to all of it, not just a slice of it. So give me the most trauma that a two-legged can handle without exiting, but definitely feeling the potential of exiting all the time. And then halfway through the life, I can turn towards medicine because I will understand poison. I say you can't tell someone how to get somewhere if you've never been. You can't be an instructor of directions if you haven't looked at the map, if you're not, if you're going to give someone directions, it helps to have been there before. Yes, I've been there. Turn right, then left, right? You need to know the way. Well, the way you know the way is through experience. And I think understanding my eternality, I wasn't threatened as a spirit by taking on all kinds of trials, tribulations, shadow, separatists, false evidence appearing real teachers, because I knew that I'm eternal, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. I knew that it would add to the matrix of my growth and evolution. But down here at Earth School, many times I have questioned why, I've said, let's record in the annals when I do life review that, I made a bad choice. This is too much for one entity to process. I chose way too much. And bless me, I was able to do it and make it through. And many I think may have held the same intent and don't necessarily always do that. So I have reverence for my ability to be here without having committed suicide or fulfilling my lifelong dream through most of this journey to be catatonic. I've mostly daydreamed of just sitting in a wheelchair in a mental institution, drilling on myself and never speaking again, because it would be such a balm to the toxic poison I've incessantly been asked to drink since I got here as an infant. Since birth, when my father drowned and I started getting assaulted. I mean, it started in infancy for me, and it's continued for 42 years. Trauma. Granted, I've laughed until I've cried many times. I've had some beautiful life here. But this particular journey that I am on, this shamanic medicine person path, is about me considering the source, having compassion for what causes another two-legged to not behave in an evolutionary way. If we are having a problem as a peoples, maybe an improper distribution of the power. For example, women not getting paid enough. Most recently in history, it being completely appropriate for them to not have a voice, to be treated like an object. We're like chattel or cattle. We're just an accoutrement to the house. Like in Soylent Green, the furniture that comes with the dang house. And so you're not treated like you have a spirit and a mind and a heart. That imbalance, if we consider the source, stems from an arrogance for many in the masculine vessel That arrogance to place one superior to another actually comes from low self-esteem. Because if you have healthy self-esteem, if you have true confidence, if you truly love yourself, you would never set the self superior. Because in order to love yourself, first of all, it would help to understand that you are all of it. It's a unified field. But second of all, to truly love the self, you would not, loving doesn't mean like, I'm better than you. Like you don't need to step up on that ego step, which is an act of feeling actually inferior to others. So if you're narcissistic, if you're an egomaniac, you actually have low self-esteem, and the volume is turned to 100 instead of 0. So some people have self-esteem at a 0. They think they're a lowly worm. They really do think they're worthless. They think they have no value. That's a choice they're making and how they're going to hold their beautiful mind. And in the same vein, some people turn the volume up to 100. But just because you're being a narcissistic, egomaniac, self-centered person doesn't mean that it means that you have low self-esteem to the extreme degree that you constantly have to abdicate yourself to the dismay of another. So not healthy, not a healthy functional way to be. To be truly balanced and to be in the center and the middle path on that, you would love yourself and you would have love and reverence for others. You would know that life is precious. Is the bird not precious? Is the tree not precious? What is it that makes this two-legged so worthless? Maybe we have foolish thoughts that we don't need to listen to. Maybe it's time to just step into our preciousness. I like to consider the source, for example, like the fact that I have an ego. An ego serves a function. Its function is to label. That labeling should have happened through discerning. For example, fire is hot. Don't stick your hand in it and leave it there. Ego should label that and tell me, don't stick your hand in fire and set it on fire. That will hurt. It shouldn't be, fire is bad, fire is evil. So that's the role the ego has rolled into, especially through like a lot of the current conditioning through our systems, the way that we're getting brain programmed through technology. But I would say that it is my experience so often that we want to, when we experience as a compassionate person, as an empathetic person, these are life skills that are well developed in me. There are others that I'm working to develop, but these that are developed, my compassion and my empathy, are in such a direction that we have a tendency to have compassion and empathy for women, compassion and empathy but I have compassion and empathy for like what causes the serial killer, what causes the rapist, what causes a man to hate himself so much that so many women that I speak to have been in a physically, mentally, or emotionally abusive relationship or sexual assault scenario with them. Now, this also happens to men. I'm a huge advocate of us recognizing that genitalia does not discern whether or not you're fed the poison of sexual assault and sexual trial and tribulation. Not at all. I know lots of men that have faced sexual trauma at the hands of women. Something to consider. We're going to talk about a topic. And that being said, my question is not just extending compassion to the victim, but the concept of victim, because I don't actually believe in that word being an actual thing, but the concept of the victimizer. What is causing this dynamic that somebody is in such a state of dysfunction that the only thing they have to offer is poison, and their poison is causing a toxicity in others? Can we mend that? Can we do some work as a group around the self-esteem of men, around them recognizing the value of their own bodies? You know, I would say what the ego denies, it projects. So many heteronormative males want to have sex with a female body, or they find a female attractive. They find their manna, their bread, their gold delicious, and they want to touch it. So those same men often assume that women are gold diggers. Because what the ego denies, it projects. So I want your body, your manna, your gold, your value, and I can't accept that about myself, so I'm going to project that you want my manna, my bread, my gold, my value. Hey guys, Rosie the Riveter happened a minute ago. Like, nobody wants your money. We can get our own. so may we find the medicine to consider the source of the toxicity and the poison that is tasted here. May we seek medicine for each entity and be medicinal in the way we operate in this realm. Go to rarebirdmedicine.com to explore more about offerings of this nature. Blessed be.